Nothing motivates people in a positive way more than seeing a positive leadership model. And if we take that as truth as educators, well, we need to make sure that in all situations, especially in disciplinary situations, that we are seen as the positive leadership model. We need to be the ones bringing 100% of that positive leadership mindset to every situation, whether it's academic teaching or whether it's a disciplinary situation. Nothing is going to motivate our students more than seeing that in front of them. Hey teachers, welcome to the Lead, Serve, Teach podcast, where we explore the intersection of leadership, education, and personal growth. I'm your host, D.Paul Miller, and I'm so glad you've joined me here for some powerful conversation, a little bit of real talk, as always. So we're in episode 2 of our series on, well, that topic that everyone doesn't want to talk about, that topic in education that makes everyone a little uneasy, that topic in, Classroom Management 101 that gets touched on in a very dry way. And here's your student code of conduct, and here's your disciplinary matrix, and go ahead and make it happen. And so we're here to have a little bit of real talk about discipline. So I'm so glad you've joined me here. If you missed the last episode, go back and watch that one. It was absolutely fantastic. It was talking about leading with calm and turning disciplinary situations into opportunities for relationship building. And so again, I'm so glad that you're joining me here for our second episode on this hot button topic, discipline. Today I really want to focus on something that happens quite often. My experience as an educator, 20 plus years serving in the school system here. And it's funny. Every teacher can tell you that one student, the one I'm talking about, that one student, the one that just got under your skin, the one that just, knew how to push the buttons. And yet it's that one student that also knew the line where they needed to stop every single time. They were the student that knew how to push the buttons and get under the skin, but not too far. Not to the point, maybe getting a referral or getting sent to the principal's office or getting some other disciplinary action. They knew how to stop, but at the same token, they're also that same student, that one student that disrupts all the lessons. Seems like they're always there. Am I right? Seems like they never miss a day of school. They have the best attendance out of every single student at the school. Seems like they are just that day, just to get under your skin, just to press your buttons. Yeah, if you've been teaching for any length of time, you know what I'm talking about. And you could even be a master teacher. You could be the teacher at the top of your game. You could be the one that is the teacher of the year, and the other teachers are sent to your classroom to figure out, what do you do? How do you teach? How do you get the kids so engaged? How? And you can still have that one student. And sometimes you can have that one student each year. Sometimes you can have multiple one students in the year. And so that's what I want to talk about today. That sometimes you have that one student that disrupts the class. And it seems like they disrupt the class on every given day. And I want to present a little bit of a different take on how to deal with that situation. I remember specifically teaching a U.S. history class. It was an 11th grade class back at the school where I started teaching. And I think it was about year 5. I was starting to get the hang of things. I was starting to get to know the lay of the land. And I was starting to master some of those teaching techniques and really starting to dig down into the course and U.S. history course I was teaching. And I remember this class started, and within a short amount of time, with those one students, the ones that you always remember for the rest of your life, typically, it within a day or two of the class starting. You're like, yep, I see where this is headed. This is going to be one of those students. This specific class and this specific student I'm thinking of, I knew it the first day of school. It's a team of 30 other students that, they could be his audience every day. And so he decided very quickly that he was going to be in competition with me. And he felt like, in reality, he probably would have made a great teacher because, man, he was quick to engage students. He could engage a classroom full of 30 students, his peers. He could engage them really quickly. He was good. And so it was this competition that started to happen every day. Who was going to win that battle for engaging the students? One, myself, I was trying to engage the students in active learning. And then there was this one student, and he was competing with me. His goal was distraction. His goal was, let me be the clown of the class. Let me get everyone's attention on me. I found day after day in this competition with him, if I focused on the competition with that student, man, it was draining. I would be drained after, and this was like third period. This was third period of the day. We had 7 periods. I still had like 4 more periods to teach. And here I am being drained midway through the day by one student. And I realized I'm going to have to do something different. I'm going to have to adopt a different mentality because I don't think I can even win this battle of competition. Because again, I said this student was good, and he was so good, in fact, he could do the things that would press my buttons. He could do the things that would get under my skin. He would do the things up until that point to where other further disciplinary action was not appropriate. He would stop there and then let it cool off for a second. And then he would start back in again with the disruptions, with the off-color comments. And again, it was all in a distractionary method for those students. If he could distract from the lesson and detract from the engagement, that was a win for him. He wasn't interested in doing well in this class, unfortunately, and he looked at it as a competition. And as long as I was meeting him at that level of competition, as long as I was meeting him there head to head, he was enjoying it. He enjoyed my class. He was always there. He was never absent. I swear he must have had the best, strongest immune system ever because he was always there. And I think part of it was every day he showed up, he felt this competition. He liked competition, and he was in clear competition with me over my class. Who's going to win? And I thought at first maybe teaching harder was the way to go, trying to use more best practices and trying to use more Kagan strat and trying to do all this stuff. And I felt like my energy was poured out more and more on the academic side of things. I found myself more and more drained, and I felt like almost that the other student was winning the day. And that was when I said, I'm going to step back and take a look at this, and maybe there's another method to doing this. Maybe there's something I need to do first in order to win the academic battle that was going on in that room. I needed to start somewhere else. And, I started to double down, not so much on the academic side of things, but I started to double down on the connection that I was developing with those students in the class. In some of those classes, they got the extended life lesson with Mr. Miller. I realized that in one of the only parts of the class period that the students were fully engaged with me, and even the one student that was the distraction, the only time he was ever engaged was actually during the life lesson, where I would start the class with this story about a mistake I had made. And it was funny, it was sad sometimes, but more than anything, it was a part of my life that I was sharing with them that they could relate to and take and use in their real life later on, or even in those moments being in a high school, they could take and use in life. I spent some time, and most of the time, my life lessons were only 5 to 7 minutes long, maybe, probably more towards the 4 to 5 minutes. It didn't take that long to tell them, but I found in most classes that was pivotal time. And whenever I did that relationship building element first, it was amazing how it built the foundation for the rest of class, and how that would serve as the foundation for the students engaging with me on the academic side when they trusted me because of the relationship time I'd put in. And so I started using that mentality. I said, you know what? Maybe I need to take my life lessons with this group, with this class, or with this specific challenging student, and I need to expand a little bit of that time that I'm spending there. I need to expand a little bit of the effort that I was putting into the life lessons. And so they expanded from maybe 5 to 7 minutes to where maybe they were 9 to 10 minutes of class. And sometimes I was bringing other students into that life lesson, asking them questions about their own life and letting them share. And I found that actually from all of this, what could have been a very negative situation around this disciplinary event that was happening day after day in this class, I really became better as a teacher at building relationship, at sharing these life lessons with Mr. Miller and building relationship with my students. I became better because of this ongoing disciplinary situation. And what I doubled down on really was the connection with the students in that class. And I'll say the one student, the disciplinary student, the discipline problem that was in there, well, that student didn't necessarily start building an immediate connection with me. The other students in that class, the 30 other students in that class, did start to develop more and more of a connection with me, more and more of a relationship. I doubled down on relationship with the other students in that class. And again, the level of creativity as I was going through the beginning of class and developing and embellishing these life lessons and bringing these students into it, and how I started to take those and would even connect them into what we were talking about that day, the academic side of the class. It was amazing to see how really that one student that was the disruption, that one student that was quote unquote the problem, really helped me become a better teacher. It really helped me to win over the class. It helped me win over 30 other students that at the start were laughing at the distraction in the classroom. They were laughing and engaging more with the clown in that classroom. They were much more interested in whatever off-color comment he might want to share in that classroom. And over time, as I started doubling down on my commitment to those students, as I started doubling down on serving those students more than just in an academic way, but in a relationship way, in a I want to support your life and your future kind of way, it was amazing to see how the eye rolls replaced the laughter that they used to give that one student, the disruptor. Before, they were laughing at him and buying into his distraction. And over time, over the course of several weeks, it changed into more eye rolls to that student. I'm tired of you disrupting class. Some of their reactions to me, the 30 other students in that classroom before were jumping in on, sometimes making fun of me, the fun, the jokes and different things that the disruptor would tell, they would jump in on again with the laughter. Or maybe they would tell a joke about Mr. Miller. And it was funny how those started to die out and they became replaced with kindness towards me, a belief in me as the teacher. More and more that disruptor's antics really fell flat. Theodore Roosevelt, great president in our history, he was famous for saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Again, that famous statement by presidents and authors alike, it is so synonymous in the world of education. And if we don't keep that thought at the very forefront of what we are doing, disciplinary situations especially become these competitions. And as I said in the last episode, we have to start asking ourselves, what's more important, winning the argument or winning the student? And that brings me to the end of the story, which was the most amazing part, is that at about a month into school, so this would have been maybe mid to late September here in the school I was teaching, at about a month in, about 4 weeks of this going on, this transference from distraction and jokes and laughing to connection with the students, to relationship and engagement and creativity being put forward in this class. He just stared at me for a little bit. And I almost opened my mouth, I almost started speaking and asking him if he was okay or if he needed something. And I just waited. Something in me, my gut told me, wait, don't say anything. I remember him asking me a very simple question about a specific assignment, about what he needed to do. And it was the first time in 4 weeks he had asked anything related to the class, anything related to the assignment. And it was the first time he'd asked anything academic. And I could tell at that point, while there were 30 other students who'd already had their mindset changed because they had seen me as a leader that would serve them, I realized that this student here, that I had won over this student. I'm not going to say that we had the best relationship after that and everything was hunky-dory and everything was perfect. No, it wasn't. But I could tell that student had realized he had lost that battle. And I think more than that, he had realized that it should have never been a battle to begin with. I think he had some realizations about the value of connection, the value of leading, the value of serving others from that moment. He had seen, because again, he was at a different level. He wanted to compete with me as who was going to lead that class. And whereas he led with distraction, he led with off-color comments, he led with jokes, he led in a way that didn't bring any value. Whereas I simply stepped back and said, I'm going to go overboard with serving the students in my class. I remember it was that very class where I decided every single day, I'm not going to miss any of them coming into my room. I'm going to celebrate them. I'm going to shake their hand. I'm going to give them high fives. I went overboard with serving those students. I went overboard with celebrating everyone in that class, whether they deserved it or not. I was going to celebrate them. I was going to treat them like somebody. And it was amazing how motivated they became, how engaged they became in that class. John Maxwell, great leadership expert, he says, nothing motivates people in a positive way more than seeing a positive leadership model. And if we take that as truth as educators, well, we need to make sure that in all situations, especially in disciplinary situations, that we are seen as the positive leadership model. We need to be the ones bringing 100% of that positive leadership mindset to every situation, whether it's academic teaching or whether it's a disciplinary situation. Nothing is going to motivate our students more than seeing that in front of them. And again, last thing I want to give you today is just the mindset to serve first, teach second. I know a lot of people will say, hey, bell-to-bell instruction. As soon as that bell rings, you need to be teaching. You need to be on to your academic and topic. And I'm not saying that you maybe don't start with a bell ringer every day that is academic focused, but please take some time at some point to make sure that you are serving your students through relationship building. Make sure that you're taking some time each and every day to show them how you are going above and beyond to serve them. Make sure that you don't miss the opportunity to celebrate them, to welcome them to class. This week, just a simple challenge to you all educators out there. Make sure that you greet each and every student as if they're the most important person on that campus. Just do it as they come into class, or maybe you can do it with a simple note that you give them at the end of class or whatever it is. And then, whatever you're doing that day, whether it's maybe a life lesson you're giving them, or maybe it's just the academic side of teaching, the instructional element that you're giving them that day, take that and amp it up. I challenge you this week. Just ask yourself real quick, what can I add to my teaching? It's going to make it just a little bit more extra, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more exciting. How can your teaching this week show your students that they are the most valuable thing in the world? If you're doing those things, I guarantee you, as you have a disciplinary event on campus or in your classroom, I think when you're spending all that time going above and beyond to lead your students, to show them that you're going to serve them, that you're going to do what's in their best interest, when they believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are there for them and their best interest, those disciplinary situations, they're not going to stop happening. They'll keep happening, but they turn into opportunities to teach. They turn into opportunities to serve. They turn into opportunities to lead. The disciplinary situations turn into opportunities to build relationships and give your students a path forward. So don't forget, when service becomes your foundation, disruption in your class kind of loses its grip. So if you've liked what you've heard today here, go and subscribe to this Lead, Serve, Teach podcast. Share it with your friends, share it with other educators out there, and let's keep building schools where students feel seen, where they feel heard, and where they feel celebrated. Because at the end of the day, they should be celebrated. They're awesome. So until next time, remember, you're not just a teacher, you're a change maker. So keep striving, keep inspiring, and don't quit. I'm D.Paul Miller. Thanks for joining me here. I'll see you on the next episode.